everything's, all right. Imagine what kind of help that would be to doctors, to be able to have imaging on the fly without having to go to a hospital to take x-rays or MRIs or things like that. I think that's pretty cool. In terms of science-wise, what if you could just walk along, walking along the road, just see some wildlife, just, point the tricorder. Oh, well, that's, this genus and species, and it's dangerous or not dangerous, or a plant even. This is this kind of plant, and don't worry about it if it's everywhere, or it's not going to hurt you or whatever. I think that would be really cool. Be the outdoorsman's companion. The possibilities are really endless, but I was really surprised to not see that one up there. So, out of all of those, which one would I pick to be the best? I'm gonna give this a little bit of a twist. I'm gonna go with the tricorder because I think that's the coolest one. That's the one that probably would do the most good, and the one that the most people could use, I guess, unselfishly in a very Star Trek kind of positive way. But I'm gonna do something this week by basically bowing down to the community because I have to say, Mr. Kettleman, you get props from me because the hoverboard from Back to the Future 2 is just so damn cool. That is the best one that came out this week, and it's cooler than anything I thought of. So I'm going to give you the award this week. I know that means that there's been a couple weeks, I guess, where I've handed out awards of the best one, but we don't have to do that every week. But I think it's worth mentioning. When you guys come up with something better than what I came up with, that definitely deserves mention. So the hoverboard from Back to the Future 2 is probably the definitive best gadget from a geek movie of all time. The possibilities are endless, and even if they are mostly selfish, it's still ridiculously cool, and that's why we should use it. All right, so good discussion this week. Lots of really good ideas. I like that we can talk about this stuff, and I really liked how some of you talked about, getting away from our conversation to something a little more general to the Weekly Wringer this week. I wanted to say that I really like several of you talked about what the Weekly Wringer kind of means to you and what kind of conversations that it spurs for you in your mind. That's, for those of you that have been watching for a while, that's exactly why I started the series. Just to be able to ask questions, get a good conversation going, and talk about things that might be controversial, might not be controversial, might be just ridiculously geeky, like one of these. I'm not sure you're going to see any article in Time about this anytime soon. That might be a good thing, by the way. But it's great to be able to sit among friends and talk about even the most ridiculous kind of things like this. So I appreciate all of you, as always, being a part of the community and bringing that to the forefront. I'm glad to be a part of your week, and I'm glad that you're a part of mine as well. And several of you said that this week, and that definitely does mean a lot to me. So thanks. And for those of you that are new, and I've got a few folks that are new to the community this week, and I want to say welcome as I always do. But for those of you that might be watching out there, you've never put in a contribution, go right ahead. There's no time like the present. The more the merrier in the community. I always love to see when that comment count gets above 40 or 50, which we've done several times on here. It makes for a little more reading. It takes a little bit more of my time up during the week, but that just means I'm doing my job the right way. So, and for those of you that are new, feel free to check out any of the 34 before the 35th, I guess, the 34 other Weekly Ringers you might have missed before this week. We've been going strong, and I don't see any reason why we can't keep continuing on, and I've got a stockpile of questions, guys. Just trust me on that one. And there's no shortage of great events that happen every single week for me to be able to talk about. All right, commercial over for the Weekly Wringer. Let's self-promotion over. So, new folks this week. I believe there's only 2, and if I miss somebody, I apologize profusely, or if you comment later on after I shoot the video, I apologize. I'll try to get you in for next week. Number 1, we have Gray Liger with a little Napoleon Dynamite spin to things there. I thought that was pretty cool. And the AOEUHTNS, which really confused the living hell out of me until I realized that it was the home keys from the Dvorak keyboard. So I don't know what the significance is there, but can't wait to hear about it. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being a part of the community. Really glad that you're here and hope that we can see many more comments from you in the future. All right. Well, guys, it's almost about that time for me to go and make another mixed drink for myself and get back on vacation. But what I wanted to say was we got to set up that question for next week. I teased it a little bit about price drops. Interesting phenomenon. Read the news today. Many of you probably got to it yesterday because, you know, you're probably not on vacation like I am. But anyway, HP has decided, I'm not going to say they're going to abandon WebOS, but the point is they're definitely going to scale back on their WebOS operations. Not a big surprise, except for the fact that HP bought, about a year ago, they bought Palm for $1.6 billion, right? That's a lot of cash, okay? So they spent $1.6 billion on what everybody thought was really just a purchase of WebOS and not really any of the Palm hardware, which I think had probably grown pretty stale, and hardware is cheap these days, so it wasn't really going to be about that. They were buying WebOS. They've only really put WebOS on one significant device, being the HP touchpad, the competitor to the iPad, and it's been a pretty bad failure. So the news came out this week that the HP touchpad they were going to have a fire sale on the HP touchpad in reflection of the news about WebOS. The touchpad is going to go from a $500 or $600 item down to a $99 or $100 item. Most of them are already sold out on every website I checked. There are probably a few left in brick or mortar locations, so if you're lucky enough to find one, if you're looking for that kind of thing, to be able to get out and find one. But it got me thinking. You know, this is the second time we've heard this in about a month. If it sounds familiar to you, you're probably thinking, like I am, about the 3DS, which, with much pomp and circumstance, was released earlier this year, and some of the coverage that we had here on the Weekly Wringer and on the Clan of the Grey Wolf from Rue at E3 and from both of us over at PAX East. Lots of 3DS hype, lots of 3DS coverage, yet the 3DS has been very much an underperformer. It has not been the kind of blockbuster that Nintendo has had with, I think, every other iteration of the DS thus far, and hence Iwata-san has decided, in his infinite wisdom, he was going to take the fall for the mistakes that have been made and move the 3DS from a $250 item to a $170 item, which is, you know, right around a little bit of a premium over where the DS Lite had kind of gotten to by that point. I think I paid $150 or maybe $175 for my DS Lite, and that was in 2006. So anyway, that gives you an idea about how cheap hardware has become. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because I see a little bit of a pattern emerging. I'm not necessarily going to ask you about that pattern, but I'm going to ask you this week, for the Weekly Wringer, the following question. Which price drop excites you more? The 3DS going from $250 to $170, or the HP touchpad going from a $500 or $600 item to a $100 item? I'm not going to tell you why I might be comparing just these two things, because I don't want to tip my hand for next week. Say I got it right that time. Tip my hand for next week and let you know why I'm asking this. I just want to know which one you're more excited about, and of course, as always in the Weekly Wringer, tell me why. I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with. All right. Well, again, appreciate your viewership, guys. Thanks so much for watching, as always. Thanks for all the comments that you bring to the site. Can't wait to see what you come up for next week. I will be back from vacation, so you will see me in my normal digs, probably with a lot fewer alcoholic beverages around. So, and maybe with a few less smiles on my face. I don't know. The point is, I will be back next week, so I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for then. But till then, I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.